episode 627 of Good Luck High Five. I'm one of your hosts, Maria, and Megan is not feeling well this week, but she did say she's turning the corner, so hopefully you'll be feeling better soon. So sitting in her place is your other host this week, Tyler.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show, Tyler.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Though, as I always say in this situation, it's bittersweet because I obviously wish Megan was feeling better. So.
Well, my question is, when am I going to be sick, and when are you going to be me?
I mean, I guess I hope never. Like, I don't know. I mean, Let's hear your best Maria impression just for the future. Should I fall ill and you have to replace me on Good Luck High Five? Okay. Ready, set, go. Something zany.
Wow, I have been read to filth on my own show by co-host Tyler.
Why is that filth?
Unreal.
I mean, what isn't the zany, like, don't people love the zany? I don't think that's,
I don't know.
Why is zany filth? Like, I think that's actually just like I think you could change that way that you're looking at it, and it might actually unlock something. Because I think there's like a way in which it can be denigrated, but also I think there's a way in which it's like the soul of everything. You know what I mean?
Man, Tyler, the truth is I agree with you. I believe in the zany. Like, my favorite, I feel like my soul has grown out of Gonzo being my favorite Muppet, and I've held him up as as like, this is the goal of life.
Yeah, that's your muse,
is to be like Gonzo. And so I'm only I think I say that as a reaction to like the world, like thinking like we don't want weirdos, we don't want zany stuff happening. And you know what? You're right. I should look inside myself and say, you know what? I am zany, and it's okay.
It's even good.
Wow, who knew I would get free counseling sesh on this episode of Good Luck High Five? Welcome, friends. Not only are we a counseling podcast, not really, don't sue us, we're also a Magic the Gathering podcast that talks about everything Magic the Gathering for players from professional to casual and everything in between. This week on the show, we are going to be talking about Aetherdrift, as the pre-release is coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yes.
Coming at us faster than a race car around a curve.
Nice.
Yeah. That's why they pay me the big bucks. Is that kind of segue? Metaphor? Simile?
It was all of the above.
All of the above. And we're going to talk to you about a lot of stuff happening with Aetherdrift. So there's a lot when it comes to the art styles of the cards in the set. That there's been a lot of discourse, if you will, online about how the cards look. So we're going to go through that, give you our hot takes on that. We're going to talk about a lot of the preview cards, share with you the Good Luck High Five preview card, which is pretty cool. No big deal. And just talk about the set in general, what we're excited for, what we might not be excited for, just our general opinions on what's coming up. Next week is going to be the Judge Rob episode. Highly coveted AF, as we Severance fans say, where he's going to come on and give us all the nitty gritty when it comes to the rules and tricky individual cards that you definitely want to listen to before your pre-release. But this episode, we're just vibing about Aetherdrift. General vibes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
But before we get into the general vibes, we want to say thank you to the people who financially support those vibes, and those are our patrons. Anyone who supports us over on patreon.com/GLHF Magic. You can become a patron in just a couple of minutes and support the content and content creators that you love. Hopefully, we're among those for you in your life. We would certainly like to be.
We really would.
We would. You can choose a bunch of different levels to donate at, from as little as $2 a month. That's our tip jar level, which gets you access to our Discord server, all the way up to our producer level, which is $20 a month, which gets you extended episodes of Good Luck High Five, which are very fun. We talk about a lot of different weird things in those extended segments.
Emphasis on the weird.
Yeah, for the zany, if you will.
Yeah, and I will.
So that's really fun, but we'd love to have you become part of the family. No new patrons to thank this week. If you will become a new patron or increase your patronage by our next episode, we will give you a shout out with a pun on the next episode of Good Luck High Five. And if that's not a carrot and not the stick, I don't know what is. I couldn't just say, if that's not a carrot, I don't know what is, because that doesn't make any sense.
Sure. If that's, I see the conundrum you were in.
Yeah. Do you think I made the right verbal decision?
I think you had to do a few backflips, and you might have like sprained like a wrist or something, but I think you got out of there.
We're also going to try something a little different this show. We're going to do our ad sponsor reads later in the episode, so those will be popping up later, so they're not all here at the front of the episode. episode. But, well, don't worry, everyone. We still have sponsors. I didn't want you to freak out.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that, like, while we have to, while we do it, that people are having a good time listening to us talk about it.
I think so, too. And, I mean, they are, they really are helping make this show happen. It would not happen without them. And they do sell some nice things that really do help you enjoy playing this game that we all love.
And we're not like reading from a script or anything. We're not like Casper Mattresses, the best mattress that you ever put your butt on, Caspers.com. The friendly ghost. That's not a ghost, but a mattress. Call us, Casper. We're available.
even if you just want us to write your copy,
I mean, I just pulled that right out of my butt, and that seems like a 10 out of 10. Peabody, please. Maria's up here demanding Peabodies on this episode of Good Luck.
I mean, but why not try? I'm not sure how they give them out, but who's to say that it's not? Yeah,
you might land among
the bodies.
High five me on that one. Yeah. All right, everyone, let's talk about Aetherdrift. It's the newest, hottest set racing down the road towards your face in a safe way.
Get out of the way.
Just kidding. It's not a safe way. They call it a death race. That's not safe.
Yeah, I think almost definitionally, yeah.
But they say it's only a death race if you die, which is a fair point.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's the disclaimer that they need.
The pre-release is coming up next weekend, the weekend of the 8th of February, and the release will be itself on Valentine's Day, the 14th. General thoughts, Tyler, about Aetherdrift as we're seeing it previewed?
I think, the race thing is very fun and evocative. I do think sort of these different teams and like the fact that there's vehicles and mounts and there's just all these different, like, it's this ragtag group of different, types of racing that's happening. Like, does it, it stretches the imagination a bit, when you're talking about like riding a sloth or riding a horse or riding a, like some sort of animal.
You don't think also, a horse could compete with a race car?
Well, yeah. I think that is
3-plane race.
I think that is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you might be right.
But I love the idea that there are, those two things could compete and that there are all these different groups of people like finding these different strategies.
Man, you give a horse enough nos, it can really go fast.
That's a good point. And I also do love that, I think these ideas of combining planes, I think this is one of the more this feels like one of the more organic ways that they've done it so far, where there is this idea, like, of course, like if you're going to have a huge race, like it might actually expand outside of like one single plane. And so I like the idea. I like the way that they've tied these different planes together in this set. Yeah,
they're racing across 3 different planes in this set. What the heck is this race called? It's like the Gyurper Grand Prix. Yeah.
Yep.
The Gyurper Grand Prix. Why have we never heard of this before? Seems pretty important, but whatever. And they're racing for a big prize, which they call like a once in a lifetime prize, which is the Aether Spark, which is a pretty cool card that we're going to talk about later. This my kind of reaction just to the base idea of this set is that the identity seems, it should seem very ironclad because it's a racing set. People are racing and doing things. I don't know. It seems a little, gosh, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel slightly like the identity is weaker than other sets because of the fact that it's spread across 3 planes.
Many things. Yeah, that's probably a fair thing to say.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I think it's fair to say that's
maybe
true.
That's more correct of what I mean. Yeah. There's like a lot happening art-wise.
Yes, there's a lot happening art-wise. Yes.
Plane-wise.
Yes, plane-wise. And and what they're, as we said, vehicles, like what they're
mounts,
riding,
I'm just thinking ahead to what Mark Rosewater, lead designer of Magic, is going to be saying in a year when he's looking back at this set. He's going to be like, "Oh, we had a lot of that's not how Mark sounds. Why did I do his voice like that?
I mean,
we had a lot of ideas, and we put too many of them in one set." That's what Mark sounds like.
That is more or less what he sounds like. Yeah.
But that being said, there is a lot of exciting stuff occurring, particularly art-wise, that I do like in this set, although there are some varying opinions on that.
True.
So let's go through.
They're taking some big swings. Risks.
Yeah. Let's go through the kinds of art that you can come across in this set because it can be a little confusing about what you can find where and when and how.
Yes.
And we mentioned the Aetherspark, the big prize at the end of the Gearper Grand Prix that they are all racing for. And this card is going to be the serialized card of this set. I say it like that because the most recent set we just had, Innistrad Remastered, also had, quote, the serialized card of the set, which was Edgar Murkov.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, are they going to keep doing this, like, one a set?
I mean, it does seem... I mean, I do feel like the One Ring, as much as it is, I think, universally hated as a Magic card, universally strong. But, they're also...
Fairly universally.
Yeah, there's some people don't like it, and I'm one of them. I think that was a very successful move that they made. And I think, it feels like one of those things where if they... Yeah, I mean, dollar bills.
Well, I like it because it's fun for me to have like a chase rare like, ooh, I could open this.
And that you could open something that literally only has like a very finite number of copies. Like I think it's true that even to pull a really expensive or valuable or desirable card out of a pack, I think you never have that sense of like, oh wow, this is like one of 500 or like that. That is a unique experience. I think that brings to it for sure. So
yeah, this card is X of 500. You can open it. It is full art, serialized, the treatment called double rainbow foil all the way. And if you don't know what this card does yet, let's read it for you because it's very, very powerful and very, very weird. Keep this in mind for the Crimbies, Maria, I'm telling myself right now, for Unique Design of the Year. It's a 4 loyalty, legendary artifact planeswalker equipment. What is that type line?
I don't know. That's a lot.
People just threw words at it.
I think so.
It costs 4 generic mana. As long as the Aetherspark is attached to a creature, the Aetherspark can't be attacked and has, quote, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage during your turn, put that many loyalty counters on the Aetherspark. That can be a lot.
I mean, really can. It can add up very quickly. Think about a double striking creature with this attached.
Oh, I'm thinking about it. +1. Attach the Aetherspark to up to 1 target creature you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So already we're growing it.
Yeah.
-5. Draw 2 cards. -10. Add 10 mana of any one color.
I mean, that's it. That ultimate doesn't sound that threatening. I mean, it's not one of those ultimates where it's like you win the game. But if you have 10 mana, depending on how your deck is built, it might be the same as you winning the game. Like 10 extra mana, I should say.
Certainly in Commander, this card seems great.
Yes.
And you can find this card, the serialized version, in collector boosters or in the bundle that they sell. This bundle is called the Finish Line Bundle. So that's where this bad boy can pop up. I think it's very cool. It can, like you mentioned, I think it can out of control very
it can grow.
easily.
I think the way we're used to Planeswalkers growing, like this one breaks that rule for sure.
Yes.
So I think that there's always something whenever they bend those, guardrails that they put in place for very good reasons. They're often something
breaks.
Broken can happen. Yeah.
So that's a look at that very specific card. The other thing that is the newest and hottest hotness that's on the lips of the populace.
That was like a very satisfying sentence.
It kind of was.
Had a lot of like consonants in it, I think.
Very onomatopoetic, if you will, even though there was nothing that it's... Anyway, these are called first place foils. These are the yellow cards, everybody. Not the band. Not the band, even though, I can listen to their songs.
Yeah.
It's a fun time. These are the ones that have a brand new foil treatment called first place foil that if you're not seeing it in real life, it looks yellow, like the border is yellow and the card has yellow within it. But I believe in real life, these are going to look gold.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
I have not seen one in real life yet.
Same.
I've only seen them in videos of people opening them. And boy, oh boy, do they not look like a Magic card.
Yeah, they are very different, especially when you think of like the way the color identity is usually very immediately apparent when you look at a card. I think these are ones where you might look at a card and say, oh, wow, that's a green card. Like it doesn't have that, immediate recognizable quality that most Magic cards do.
Absolutely not. And they're going to be very... I guess rare because they're only available in one place. You can't even open them in a collector booster, which is highly unusual.
Yeah.
These only come in box toppers, which are those tiny little packs you get if you buy a booster box. And the weird thing about that is those box topper packs are going to have one one card, which is a land from the set, full art land in this treatment.
Yep, with the yellow border.
Yellow border.
/gold border.
Yeah. And 2, either a rare or a mythic done in this treatment. And it can be one of 127 different cards from the set.
So yeah, some of those,
It's a lot.
depending on what, I'm sure there are, as there are with any any set of collectible Magic cards, there's going to be some that are more desirable than others. And I think those ones probably will, be pretty a pretty good open.
Seriously, they've got to be pretty rare if it's one out of 127.
Yeah, options. It seems.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you think about how these look, Tyler?
First glance on them, I was a little bit taken aback.
It is arresting in a way.
And I think in a good and a bad way. For the reason I said, I think there's something, you have kind of a visceral reaction to saying, like, I don't know what color this Magic card is. Now, of course, you can just look up in the top right-hand corner and see what mana symbol's there.
Well,
and then you can.
We're lazy, man.
Yeah. But if you just want to take a quick glance at it, I think it's hard to tell in some of these, especially. I think there's some where the art is pretty defined as like the color, like there's some where the red or the blue in the art like really pops out. And there's some where there's less of that. And I think on those, those that have less of that like extreme kind of vibrance to the art itself, like I think that there are ones where you're going to look at it and say like, I don't know what, this looks strange to me, like in this kind of visceral way. But I feel like there is something, they're very unique. And in that way, I think that especially for something like Commander, like I think if you're going to have like one of these, your Commander, like I feel like that's a place where if you're just have one copy of it and you're setting it out and saying like, this is like going to be an arresting thing to look at, I think that's a way that they probably do accomplish what they're trying to.
I think there's also a difference for me between the extended art, if you will, versions of these and the ones that have a border.
More of a border. Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair.
I think the extended art ones look better than the ones with the border.
Yeah, I think I can get behind that.
It's just odd, right? We're not used to seeing a Magic card that looks like this. We haven't had a gold border in 15 years or whatever since those World Championship decks, which did not look like this, to be fair. It was definitely a different idea.
It was, for sure.
But it's weird. It feels like it doesn't necessarily feel like a Magic card.
I agree with that for sure.
It might feel like a Pokemon's card.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which heaven forbid,
But that kind of thing, it does not bother me.
Yeah.
I'm all for experimentation with the way that cards look. If it's a weird, different printing, I give it a thumbs up because I just like the variety that exists.
Yeah. I think that's a fair. Yeah, it doesn't bother me in a very like extreme way either. Like I think
I'm like, we're doing something weird. Let's just do something weird. Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah. The lands I think are especially bizarre to see them in this treatment.
Yeah, when they're because the gold kind of like soaks through the whole. Like, is that the correct term?
Soaks through.
Perhaps not. It's.
I had some gold soak through the other day. It wasn't a great experience.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
I mean, like, look at this mountain.
Yeah. The lands especially seem like the gold. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like when I could have said that better, but I think.
No, I do. You said it right. Okay. I know what you mean.
All right. But it feels like the gold is more present, like throughout the card. Like it's like behind. It almost feels like it's like it's more fully integrated into the art of the card than it does when there's like a text box and like, there's a lot of other things going on with the normal spells that the lands don't have.
I think people are more annoyed by lands because they think, well, I'm not going to be able to tell what kind of mana my opponent has open. But this was also the case when we got those black and white lands.
True.
With Innistrad, it was the case when we had those oil slick lands from Phyrexia LB1.
Yeah.
People just don't use them a lot, I don't think. It's very rare. Because they end up being pretty expensive to get a full set of that.
Yeah, if you're going to have more than one of these, if you're going to try to do 20 of these, it becomes quite prohibitive quite quick. Yeah.
But I also, sorry, everybody, I also don't care about that. I'm like, I understand why it can be a problem for some people to not, immediately be able to recognize the mana that somebody has. Mm-hmm. But I would err on the side of being like, hey, we're experimenting with artistic styles. I'm going to favor that over just everything being 100% clear all the time. And if you disagree with that opinion, that's totally fair, I think, too.
Yeah.
That's just my personal, I don't have a beef with them.
Yeah. I think I feel like the thing that feels like it might get in the way most, and I just don't think this will come up that much with these, because I think the thing that feels like it works as like a kind of organic gatekeeping to this type of thing is that you're not really going to run into these lands that much in games that are going to be between people who are relatively inexperienced at the game.
That's
I think if you collect these, you probably are a pretty invested player, and at the point, most invested players are all going to end up playing against other invested players. So I think about like just sitting down at a pre-release or something, like I think that's a place where like if you can't recognize what the mana is, like that can be like a real turnoff to these people who are just maybe coming to engage with the game in like a brand, like this is the first time, or like they. But we
won't have them at pre-releases.
Exactly. So I think maybe that's that's the thing that came to my mind immediately when you were like, yeah, you can't recognize what the mana cost is. Like I think that I would feel bad if there were players who were relatively new to the game who were sitting down to play and then feeling like they couldn't understand what's going on because of those arts. But yeah, I think in large part I agree with you.
Speaking of Pokemons, another kind of art style we got to talk about is we've got the Japan Showcase art style returning here. We recently saw it in Duskmorn with the Overlords with this treatment. This is the kind of glittery foily treatment, and it's supplemented by art that is done by Japanese artists and illustrators. These cards also look very different, and
they really do.
Really are kind of almost unrecognizable as a Magic card in a lot of ways. Like the text box is not there.
Yep.
It's just like the text is
just kind of overlaid on top of it. Yeah.
So I also think these look dope AF. Are they hard to read? Yes.
Yeah, not gonna lie about that.
Are they Pokemons? Yes.
I mean, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, especially. I mean, Loot the Pathfinder is a Pokemon. I mean, I think we can all agree with that for sure.
And you all know how I feel about Loot. #pushed. Don't try and tell me what's cute. I will decide what's cute, Mr. Loot.
Yeah.
We talked about the controversy of Loot having a punchable face a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah, I feel like is kind of true.
And I think overall, more Magic players would want to punch Loot than to not punch Loot.
Yeah, which is sad because I feel like Loot, is just a little critter. So
what would a Loot do to anybody?
I think you would feel bad. You might want to, and then like I think it would be one of those things you just regret immediately.
Especially once he starts crying his tiny little whatever he is tears.
Yeah. He probably, and for all you know, he makes some kind of just like eardrum shattering. Like Loot probably doesn't
horrible
just
noise.
talk like a normal like he's probably not talking in English or whatever, Loot.
Loot.
Or just makes like just bleeps and bloops, like it's kind of like I think of R2D2 and the owl from
oh yeah, that golden owl.
What is that called? Wrath of the Titans, or what? I might be slightly paraphrasing that name, but there was an owl from that original that literally was just R2D2, but like in like ancient Greece. So
maybe he makes that sound.
Yeah, maybe.
Wizards, why are you being cowards? Tell us what Loot sounds like.
Yeah, release the
Loot tapes. We need to know. If only he was a planeswalker, then we could hear his voice lines on Arena.
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten a call, by the way, to read any planeswalker voice lines.
Yeah, but if there was an R2D2 planeswalker,
once I would be there.
I think you would be the call that needed to be made.
1 second. That's only if we get a Star Wars set, like we've been like speculating. Does that ever have a chance of happening?
I mean, it feels like it has a chance. It feels like it has a chance.
There's a chance. Yeah. These cards are going to be available in collector boosters, the bundles, and as MTG Arena card styles. FYI, by the way, they're in foil and non-foil too.
Well, I think it's actually foil and fractured foil. I think it's two different types of foil.
You are correct.
So like the
glittery one's the fractured foil.
Yeah.
And finally, well, not finally, we got actually 2 more secret ones to talk about after this. But there are special guests in this set, and that is cards that they add in to collector boosters, play boosters, or bundles, or box toppers that are famous cards from Magic's past that you can just randomly open.
And that also theoretically kind of fit within the theme of the set. Like they're not from the set, but they are like logical additions to the theme of the set.
The one that people are buzzing about is Chrome Mox, is a special guest for this series. There are 10 different special guests. And this Chrome Mox is available in that gold treatment as well, potentially open in box toppers. And I think if you get that, you just like hide it and run because
you're saying you just like leave everything behind. Like
you got to go on the lam immediately.
It feels, actually, I'm kind of hoping not to open one. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to be on the road, Maria. I don't want to be a boy who hops on trains and has a little knapsack on a stick.
I like a lot of parts about my life, like I don't want to leave it all behind. I mean, there's some things I would leave behind.
Sure.
Yeah.
The special guest will be denoted by a little star. It's not going to be the racing flag emblem in the corner. So those are the kind of big overarching art treatments, but we're not done. There's more. Which is why I think if this set feels like a lot, or one of the reasons.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Is the vehicles in this set have a special treatment.
Yep.
And they look more cartoony. I would say the art style.
Yeah,
it's bigger, bolder.
Yeah.
There's a special name that I can't remember what this art style is, but it's only the vehicles of the set who have it.
Yeah.
And then there is a sixth style, which is the only in the mounts of this set. And this one's called like the Rude Riders.
Yeah, I think that's right. Rude Riders.
And these are extra cartoony looking.
They are very. They have like a kind of almost like Mad Magazine kind of a feel to you, wouldn't you say?
Like Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, Ren and Stimpy. That's another good. Yeah, that kind of like just weird. Like there's kind of like goop coming off of them. All of them and stuff.
Like they feel gooped.
It feels like they're like their pores and or like pieces of their body are kind of like highlighted in like a disconcerting way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
their eyes are popping out.
Yeah, exactly. Or their teeth are like all like individually like.
Man, this is why I couldn't watch Ren and Stimpy, which a lot of people will say has an excellent art style because the cartooning of it was very what's the word, stretchy. That's not what I mean, but it wasn't just like like shoddy cartoon drawing.
Sure, yeah, they were good. Yeah, they were spending a lot of time and effort.
But I can't. It just was so gross to me.
Yeah, I mean, true. My parents wouldn't let us watch Ren and Stimpy when I was a kid. Yeah, I think it was like thought to be, it was just kind of like off limits to us. I think at least for a little while. Like,
wow.
I think it was because of how.
I mean, it was like toilet humor, right?
Yeah. I think that was a part of it, and just like the weird, probably just like how grotesque it was in some ways. It probably, truth be told, was more of like the idea of Ren and Stimpy somehow than like maybe the reality of it. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of fell into like a category of something that seemed a little untoward somehow, and I think that meant people. Yeah, I don't know.
Did you watch Beavis and Butthead?
No, that was also in
man.
Yeah, that was,
okay,
I think that was probably more restricted. You know what I mean? I think Beavis and Butthead was definitely more. Yeah.
A little
for
more
sure.
All right, what else was blocked in the Mills home?
I did not watch rated R movies until I was like 16 or 17. I mean,
Gosh, when was the first rated R movie I even saw? Is Jurassic Park rated R? No. That was the first quote unquote spooky movie I saw, but I was relatively young when I saw that.
Yeah, I was relatively young too. I mean, that one you always remember. I feel like, I'm sure there were other movies that did that, but I feel like it was so odd at the time to just kind of jump into the action, which is obviously a thing a lot of movies do now.
Yeah.
But I think there was the sort of like headed right into like the like, like we were already with the dinosaur, like you didn't see a full picture of them, but like just getting, like that whole thing with the raptors in the cage and like that opening sequence, like that left an impact on me for sure, like when I was a kid. But
I'm going to say the first R-rated movie I watched was The Blair Witch Project. And I would have been about 16 or so.
Sure. Okay. Well,
like a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Well, I've been 14, 15. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, that was my first one. What was your first one?
Man, I honestly don't know if I remember. The thing that I kind of remember is that there was I feel like there was a like Three Musketeers movie or something that was like
rated
one of the
R.
Well, and this is why I'm wondering if
Hold on, I'm googling.
Yeah, well, please do. This is what I'm trying to remember right now is whether it was actually, because I think we were a little restricted on the PG-13 movies too, and maybe it was PG-13 and they just didn't. Somehow I got into this movie theater with my parents and they didn't know that it was whatever it was, and so then we were like
sorry, no, this is just the Google stupid AI response.
Yeah,
I don't think it exists, Tyler, because they say they're guessing what it would be like. They're like, ooh, an R-rated version of the Three Musketeers would likely feature significantly more graphic violence, including detailed sword fights with blood, explicit sexual content, and stronger language.
Okay, so what?
I don't think that's real.
Maybe it wasn't, but I think
there's a PG-13 one.
Okay,
from 2011, 1993.
Yeah,
PG.
Okay, well, gosh, maybe I could just have completely fabricated this then, but I feel like I have a pretty visceral memory of this. The thing that I'll say as an answer that isn't really an answer is that one of the movie experiences that I remember also that maybe it's on my parents reacting to my reactions to movies.
Sure.
But I went to The Little Mermaid when I was like
a Little Mermaid yourself.
I was a Little Mermaid myself, and I was very young. I don't remember exact age, but and I think it was maybe one of the first movies I'd ever seen in the theaters. And I tell you, when Ursula came on the screen, I was like,
you spooked.
Check, please. I was like, I truly was. I was like, it was like me and my dad, I think, and I was like, I don't know what I said or whatever.
And to this day, you can't look at an octopus.
No, that's not true. But I do remember, like, it was like we were left the movie theater, like we were out there. So.
I have a similar experience. Yeah. Not to my Little Mermaid, the Little Mermaid, but to Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I could not deal with there was a dentist scene, I want to say.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. It's been a long time since I saw that.
And movie, I was horrified of the dentist, and certainly that scene made it seem very horrifying.
Yeah.
But it was also my sexual awakening because of Jessica Rabbit.
Sure.
So you get both things in one.
Yeah. And I mean, all
critical
that,
trauma.
I mean, a sexual awakening is, it's a very intense experience in and of itself. I'm saying, like, genuinely. So it's not like
you're right.
It's not always the most, like, you're like, yeah, like, so I think,
right,
you know
sure.
what I mean? Sometimes I think it can
what is this
contribute
new strange thing happening?
Yeah, it can contribute to your feelings of like, am I safe right now?
I definitely left that movie early, I recall. Yeah. And then Addams Family I saw shortly after that. But I was like, oh, yeah, these are my people. This does not scare me. I feel at home here. That's so interesting. Wow, there's a tangent for you.
Anyway, yeah, a little
listeners
movie tangent.
And patrons, do you want to talk about your first R-rated experience of movies?
Yeah.
Come in our Patreon. Yeah. Patreon. I mean, Discord. God.
Well,
help! I'm having another trauma.
You need to get to Patreon. You need to be a part of Patreon to get into certain parts of the Discord. So that basically made sense what you said.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for validating my broken brain. So those are the different art styles in the set. I think there is a lot of people who really don't like them and a lot of people who think they're cool. And I guess I fall on the cool side of these things. But like I said, I want to see these gold foil ones in person.
Yes, I feel the same way about that for sure.
Make a final declaration about that.
And, how much do they Pringle, Always a question.
Yeah.
That is relevant. Because it's so sad when that happens. I mean,
know,
the foils do always look pretty cool, I think. But then you get them and they're warped in a way that feels like it almost feels like something to do with like quantum mechanics or something. You're just like, what? Like this card is like trying to be in two places at once. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe it is. It is the magic foil is a quantum.
That's the treatment they put on it has to do it. Yeah, like each one of them has like had atoms split over top of it, and that's why.
I love that. Has science studied a foil?
And why it Pringles?
And it could be because it's like Schrodinger's cat. It just is trying to be in two states at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow. They're trying to invent the quantum computer, and it was in front of us this whole time.
It was right in these packs that we were cracking the whole time.
Say thank you to one of the amazing sponsors of this show, which is Card Kingdom. You can check them out on the internet at cardkingdom.com/GLHF. Go ahead and pre-order now your Aetherdrift.
Yeah.
If you pre-order it now, they will ship it to you on the day that it releases.
Insane.
If there's a single that you're looking for from the set, which maybe there's enough art styles in here to choke a priest. You can pre-order singles on Card Kingdom 2. I don't know why I said that.
I don't either, but it's very, it like evokes something for sure. Like, I think, you know what I mean? Like it does,
I don't know what it evokes.
I
don't know what it evokes. On this show once, I was like talking about how British people have the coolest slang. And I was like, ooh, like they say, and I just made up a British slang, which wasn't real, which was to choke down a goose.
It does sound British.
Choke down a goose.
It does sound British though, for sure.
Anyway, that reminds me of what I said there. Let's not think too much more about it. But yeah, you can pre-order singles, which I think is very cool too. So those will ship out right as soon as they get them over at Card Kingdom. Make sure to use cardkingdom.com/GLHF for anything you buy. It lets them know that you support us while you're supporting yourself.
Yeah.
And you can get a bunch of other stuff over at Card Kingdom, including Dragon Shield stuff, graded cards, deck boxes, booster packs. If you just got a hankering to crack a pack, they've got it for you. Check them out at cardkingdom.com/GLHF. Huge thank you to Dragon Shield, everyone, for being another one of our amazing sponsors on the show. You can check them out, link in the show notes or underneath this YouTube video. Be sure to use code GLHF at checkout to save yourself 5% off whatever you buy. If you open some sweet new cards, if you open one of the Ether Sparks,
yeah, you got to protect
it. You got to protect it, Tyler.
Truly, like you don't want that thing. I mean, when you're on the lam
running
from your family and the law, I don't know exactly who you're running from, but like whoever you're running from, if you're gonna put that thing in a knapsack or something, you're gonna want to have it protected.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's true for sure.
These are the only sleeves we use here at Good Luck i5 and on Commander Arcade. We re-sleeve decks with them all the time. They're last
very
the
durable.
Test of time.
Yeah, truly. You don't feel like they've been used before, like when you're using them for the second or third or fourth time. Like they're very, very high quality.
And you can get them in a bunch of different colors on their website. You can even design your own sleeves with a picture of your face on them.
Pretty cool.
And who wouldn't want that as a present from you? they're like, wait.
Can you give someone the present with their picture on it? Yeah.
What would you do, Tyler, if for your birthday I had given you Dragon Shields with my face on them?
I would have thanked you for them.
Yes, because you're very polite.
Well, but I think, maybe, I feel like it's maybe a better idea.
Sure.
If you ask someone politely for a picture or, steal it off the internet and then use that to make their
we do not condone stealing people's artwork off the internet.
No,
on this
not
show.
their artwork. I'm just saying you go to like their Instagram or something and you're just pulling up.
That they did.
Yes. Well, we were talking about a picture of them, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
If you made me a picture of an art piece that you created on the sleeve, that's
like
a whole
sloth?
different thing. Yeah, like a sloth.
That could happen.
Perhaps it has in a way.
And put that on some sleeves and give it to your friend. I can't think of a better gift.
Truly.
With any amount of money. That's always
and that's
number
a statement
one.
we'll stand by.
Go check them out. Like we said, code GLHF at checkout gets you 5% off. Let's talk about the mechanics that we're going to find in Aetherdrift. Mm-hmm. Not a lot that I think is new or terribly exciting, might I say.
Go on.
But we'll talk about it. The first one we're going to talk about is speed and start your engines. Mm-hmm. Now, Judge Rob is going to go into these in far more detail next week, but very straightforward. Mm-hmm. It's not maybe I'm being a little too critical, but it's not. Yeah. We're not talking about a battle here. We're not talking about a saga or something strange. It seems very simple. Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk about the card Streaking Oil Gorsher.
What did you call me?
This guy's nude. 4 and a black for a 3/3 vampire, flying in haste, and it has start your engines, and there's reminder text. If you have no speed, it starts at 1. It increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life, so this cannot increase on your opponent's turns, with a max speed of 4. And then once you achieve max speed, this creature has lifelink. So you get the little bonus once you're at speed 4. You can only gain speeds on your turn when your opponents lose life. And this little buddy, I think for 5-drop, if you don't have max speed, is totally serviceable. 3/3 flying, haste.
Yeah, I would say
that's what you pay normally.
Serviceable. I want more from my 5-drop unlimited. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
But yes, I think it's
not
unplayable. They did print it and it's not unplayable. I just mean you want only like probably 2 or 3 5-mana cards in your deck, and this is probably not one of them. Let's just be honest. But if it had lifelink, then that's a slightly different situation. Yeah,
you're gonna play this if you can think you can get max speed.
I think that's And again, I may not be super excited about it. I'm just being honest with you. But I felt like if I could get max speed, I think that I'd be more excited for sure.
Okay, great. I don't know. This seems extremely. I like that there is like a speed element here, and we're trying to achieve it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel too big or weird. It makes sense. And your speed start is always 0, and then it goes up from there.
Yeah.
And there are cards that decrease your speed, by the way.
Well, or you're saying if you have it, once you play one of these cards, I think it starts at 1. I think it.
Right.
But like it's like I think you either have no speed or 1 to 4 speed.
So I can't say you have 0 speed.
Well, you can, but I think it won't make a lot of sense.
Fair enough. So that's the first big splashy mechanic from this set. There will be a reminder card in your pre-releases that has a little start your engine, so you can count up your speed on that 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's kind of nice.
And I'll say, I think one thing that I immediately think about when I think about these cards, it's cool that it's not true on all of them, but I think for the most part, they both have a start your engines to get you started and a max speed to give you some kind of payoff on them. So I think that's a fun thing or not fun. I think that was wise of them, especially in a limited set, to like create a situation in which you're gonna have the thing, like it's gonna work the way that you want it to most of the time, I think. I do think like that 5-drop is a great example of like, if you're starting your engines on turn 5 on playing this, things have gone poorly.
Yeah, you're losing
so I think
anyway.
most of the time you're gonna want to start you're gonna want the 2, like maybe there's one, I'm sure there's 1 drop. So like you want the low cost things that are gonna get you going on that, because I think ideally when you play that 5-drop, if you don't have your engines at max speed or close to it, I think that you're pretty sad about life.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, I am anyway, if I'm not going like 85 at all times.
But it's a fun, it's like a different axis that the game can be played on. I know there's cards that I believe I've seen cards that like refer to like what your speed is, like, you know what I mean? So it might not have like a max speed thing, but it might be like, your speed is this, and that means this, like that kind of thing. So it like checks on the speed of you and maybe of your opponent too.
Like that.
I just think there's like some, it feels like it's another axis of the game to play around with, which I always enjoy.
I always love a different axis if they've got one happening in the game. That's one of my favorite things about it. So there's cards that I mentioned that can reduce your speed. One that's been previewed is Spike Shell Harrier. This is the blue shell from Mario Kart. Are you familiar? 4 and a blue for a 4/4 robot turtle.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty cute.
He is pretty cute. I'm not going to lie to him.
The set is very cute. When this creature enters, return target creature or vehicle to an opponent controls to its owner's hand. If that opponent's speed is greater than each other player's speed, reduce that opponent's speed by 1. This effect can't reduce their speed below 1, so you can't have 0 once you have 1.
Yeah, yes. I think that is true.
We've established. Anyway, so there's other ways that you can play around with speed in this set. Besides,
and that's a 5-drop that I'd be probably a little happier playing.
Okay.
I would say. I mean, it's going to affect the board in a nice way, I think, and I mean, especially depends on how. I feel like speed is going to be
important.
Probably.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of cards with that on it, and maybe that won't be the case. You can never predict a limited set until you start playing with it, but I think like there's a good chance it will be. So I feel like that will be an impactful play probably on turn 5.
The other new mechanic for this set is exhaust. So we have speed and exhaust, the 2 things cards do. Let's read Prow Catcher Specialist. 1 in red for a 2/1 Goblin Warrior with haste. Exhaust, 3 in a red, put 2+1/+1 counters on this creature. So it's an ability that you can activate only once, and then it's done. It's exhausted. In this case, it's monstrosity. But it won't always be. It's other stuff in other cases.
Yeah.
Let me find another exhaust card. But sorry, I just said that so sarcastically because that made me very bored. I'm like, that's monstrosity. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's interesting. I do think there's a tension with the exhaust cards of sort of like it just being done. Like it is just like an ability that's just then done, which is less interesting in some ways than an ability, obviously, that can be reactivated. I think the interest comes from like cards with multiple different abilities of exhaust, or cards that I feel like there's probably going to be some cards that will like play around with like how often you can do exhaust, or like those kinds of things.
That would be nice.
Feel like we'll play with this, but I do agree with you that there's something about like it's like a one and done type of a mechanic, which does feel less exciting than, it feels like it's more there's less ways to play around with it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Totally. Wiggle room.
Yeah, less wiggle room.
Loot the Pathfinder has some more interesting exhaust things that are happening with his little punchable face. This little 2/4 costs 2 green, blue, red. Double strike, vigilance, haste. Man, every card I've been reading has haste so far. All 3 of them.
Yeah, that's true. What does it mean?
I guess we're racing, so
yeah, well, that's true.
Watch out in limited. God,
Oopsie-daisy.
you're dead. Which has exhaust for a single pip of these colors in 3 different abilities. The first one is green, tap, add 3 mana of any one color. Blue tap, draw 3 cards, or red tap does 3 damage to any target. Great card, thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean,
powerful.
That card is definitely powerful. I mean, like you get like any of those, like, I mean, the draw 3 cards one's probably one that people are going to, I'm saying like, it depends on what's going on in the game, but like, I think there's going to be a lot of times where if you're worried about loot getting removed, I think that would be one that I would be interested in
activating first
early on. It's also interesting that, well, that card is very powerful because it has haste and vigilance, and so you can like play that card, attack with it,
and then
have it's a 2/4 double strike, like not an easy card to block or deal with most of the time, and so I think that you're gonna get value out of that. Right, any card that comes down and gets value right away is usually pretty powerful.
The other mechanics are all returning. In this set, we mentioned vehicles. Yeah, well, you got to have vehicles, and they're back. There's one here, Midnight Mangler. What a card name, which is a 1 and a blue for a 3/3 during turns other than yours. I love how Commander has made us head this backward backflips.
There's some interesting phrasing for sure.
During turns other than yours, this vehicle is an artifact creature. Oh, that's nice. Crew 2. So it just crews itself.
Yeah. It feels very similar to those cards, which blue often has, that are like 2-mana 3/3 defenders that have some way, like an enchantment comes into play.
Defender.
And it feels kind of like that card to me, which is, I mean, those cards usually not like amazing, but like you'll play them and they're usually fine with them.
If you don't want to drive a car in this race, don't worry. You can also ride something weird, like a Venom Sack Lagak.
Very satisfying to say.
Just like Saddleback Lagak, this Lagak has a great name.
Yep,
1 and a green for a Death Touch, 2/1. Whenever this creature attacks while saddled, it gets +0/+3 until end of turn, so it becomes a 2/4. Nice. Saddle 2.
Yeah.
So you want to ride a creature? Guess what? You get to ride one. And there's a very cute creature you can ride in this set, which I'm not going to talk about yet because cutest card is coming up next week. And let me tell you, no card will ever beat it. It's the cutest card ever printed. Just saying.
All right. You heard it here first.
Yeah. You can also make pilots in this set with your vehicles, but they can also ride things. For instance, this ability is on the card Valor's Flagship, which is 4 white for a 7/7 mythic.
Ayo.
Flying, first strike, lifelink, no haste.
Yeah,
I guess you can't have everything.
Yeah, that's nice. It kind of gives your other creatures haste, though, once it comes into play.
That's true.
Because it's a vehicle. So
Crew 3. You can cycle this card, which we'll talk about in a second. And then when you do, the cycle cost is X2 white. Create X 1/1 colorless pilot creature tokens with this token saddles mounts and crews vehicles as though its power were 2 greater, which is extremely good.
Yeah, very relevant in this set, I think, for sure.
Yes. If you played with the vehicle commander precon, that commander makes pilots, and it was busted.
Was it Kamigawa that they introduced the pilots in?
Oh gosh, I don't know actually.
I think it was the most.
That would make sense.
I think it was. I could be wrong about that, so don't quote me. But I think that that's true, and I like that they've extended it to be relevant to mounts as well now. That
yes,
feels
I
like
agree.
a really important change for a set like this.
Who am I thinking of? Shorikai? Is that no? It's a different commander. No, yes, it is Shorikai.
Okay,
yeah. To tap, to draw to, and then discard, make a pilot. Yeah. So that card's extremely good, obviously, and the fact that pilots are running around will be helpful for you when you're saddling or crewing. And finally, I just mentioned cycling. That's the last mechanic that's going to be in here. You pay a cost to discard the card and then draw a card or go find something.
Yeah, always love when cycling comes around. I think it's it's just one of those mechanics that usually makes games better for the most part. And I think I feel like they always find a few interesting ways to play around with like the cycling costs. Sometimes they make them all 1 colorless mana, and then they print a card that deals X damage and gains X life, and then that's a huge problem for the limited set. But other than that situation, I feel like I've usually liked having cycling around.
Absolutely. They've talked about they're trying to do things to make it, not get punished if you're flooded on lands or if you're mana screwed.
Yes, and I think anytime, there's and they also just introduce interesting decisions into the game,
Correct.
Which is very it just makes it more fun. You have this card and it might have something powerful, but you might be missing a land drop, and you just have to think to yourself, what should I do right now? And the answer is probably cycle the card because you need your lands.
So those are the mechanics from this set coming up. Nothing that's, shaking up the world of Magic too greatly. But looking through the cards which have been previewed, Tyler, is there anything that just stands out to you as you're like, oh, this is super cool? Oh, we also got to tell people about our preview card.
Yeah, well, I honestly did think of do you want to do that right now?
Yeah.
I did think of this. There is this cycle of legendaries that Mark Rosewater previewed in his article that were all going to be basically generic legendaries, and sure enough, one of the Good Luck High Five preview card is one of those cards.
This is Kalorna.
Or Kalorna or Kalorna? I really couldn't say.
Kalorna.
Yes, that is it.
Her name is unsayable.
Yes.
The point is she's a coral tyrant.
Yes.
For 1 in a blue, no text.
Yep.
She's an
flavor text, but no game
no
text.
rules text.
Yeah, no
she's
rules
an 08. Uncommon.
Yeah.
Octopus.
Legendary.
She's pretty cool.
She is very cool. Yeah. I mean, 2 mana 08, that's a lot of stats for 2 mana. Like
yes, it is.
8 of anything, even though it is just toughness, is a lot.
8 of anything is a lot.
8 of anything is a lot.
8 fingers. You're not like, wow, you have a lot of fingers because you have 10 fingers.
You know what? You're right. 8 of anything is not a lot. But
thank you. I destroyed Tyler on this episode with my logic puzzle.
Wait, it was a puzzle?
No, I was just thinking I've been watching a lot of original series Star Trek, which everyone knows I'm a huge Trek fan, but I haven't done much sit down and watching of the original series. And boy, oh boy, have I found that I truly love it.
Yeah.
And it was a product certainly of its time in some bad ways, but also some great ways.
Yeah, it was ahead of its time in some ways, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of the episodes are just allegories for the Cold War.
Which, if you were living in the Cold War, you'd be thinking about it.
And about computers, the rise of computers, too, and the fear that I think that surrounded a lot of people with the rise of computers.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the answer to defeating whatever it is in the episode is Kirk logicking the computer to death.
Proving once and for all that we can out-logic the computers, and therefore don't be afraid. You know, like...
And then they smoke and go up in flames, and he's like, my work here is done. Come on back to the ship, Spock. We're going to kiss.
I do think that sounds like pretty much every episode,
They're in love.
That's the subtext at the very least.
But that's just like another episode. I'm like, another episode, and Kirk destroys another computer by just saying a sentence that it can't compute. So great.
Yeah, and so anyway, like similar to the computer smoking, this is way an octopus.
It's because I destroyed you.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Anyway, go on. What was your point?
Well, it's interesting that and I know that Loading Ready Run has previewed a few more of these as well, and there's a green one that's 2 green, and it's a 9/7. So
wowza.
Yeah, a big boy for sure. And there's a crocodile that's a 1 black for a 7/2.
Woohoo!
Which again, 3 mana that's 9. Like it's 7 power in a 3 mana creature is a lot. And the last one I think that's been previewed is a 2 mana 4. Yeah, it is they're all Yargle-y type cards for sure. The last one I think is a 2 mana 4/1. That's 1 in a red. So all these cards are overstated for their cost, but they are just they're just generic creatures. And they've printed this ape druid that's a 2/4 for 3 and a green that has reach, and when it enters, you can search your library for a creature card with no abilities. So they're putting, at least in limited, like a little mini kind of package that you might be able to get. And there's another card that also is a 2 and a green for a sorcery, and it's return up to 1 target creature card, up to 1 target mount card, up to 1 target vehicle card, and up to 1 target creature card with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. So again, there's some cards that are paying you off for having this.
I've drafted the vanilla deck.
Yeah, and I'd also be curious. I mean, it feels like probably not something that most people will do, but like I certainly have thought of like seeing these cards. I've thought of like, what would it be if you had a commander deck and it was just all vanilla creatures? Like, I think it would be a lot of creature combat for sure, which I do enjoy, but probably those games would be lengthy.
Long,
I think, they would be lengthy. So maybe it's not the greatest idea, but I'm very fascinated by their printing of these, and I'm just curious. I mostly play limited, so I'm curious how these will stack up in limited. Will these be cards that you're pretty happy to put in your deck, or will these be cards that you'll only want to maybe put in your deck if you have some of these other cards that pay you off for having them? Like, I'm just curious how they stack up, because it's just it's an interesting choice to make to print. They're slightly overstated. I wouldn't say they're like a 3 mana 7/2 in a constructed game of Magic is not a card that I think is going to give too many decks too much trouble. Obviously, if it gets to connect a couple of times, that's great. But like 2 toughness is just making it fairly fragile. So anyway, I'm just curious about.
Can
these
certainly
cards.
mount anything.
That is.
I'll tell you that.
Yep, that's true. I can't argue with that.
One way to put that.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. That like that's maybe that's another way in which these creatures will,
what's the highest crew
not our
cost that
Coral
we're gonna
Tyrant,
get?
but like I think like the 2-mana 4/1, maybe that's a part of why you'll want to put it in your deck is just for.
I can tell you this
vehicle.
This Kalorna, however you say her lovely octopus name, she can go in my Plagan commander deck.
Very true. I think it will be an auto include in a lot of those
it's an 8/8
butt decks
for 2 mana.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good.
As Serge says, more like Blocktopus.
Fair enough.
Indeed, it can certainly block.
It can certainly block. Yeah, and that is not nothing, but you're going to want to have a specific kind of deck to put that into. It's not just one you want to throw in every deck.
Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us this week and talking about what's coming down the
old drift pipe.
The drift pipe. You ever been on a turnpike, Tyler?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Can I tell you all a quick turnpike story?
Yeah, sure, please.
All right. So I didn't even finish my sentence. Coming down the turnpike with us, whatever I was saying.
Yeah, well, we've paused. That sentence is still floating up in the air. It's just
in the ether,
perhaps.
If you will. Yes. Yeah. I was on the Ohio Turnpike, I want to say. My friends and I were visiting. She wanted to go out and visit a college out there. And so we went to go visit, and we were just riding the car. It was me and 2 other friends. And there's this other car that kept trying to keep pace with us on the turnpike. And it was like young guys, like around our age. And I was like, always... I'm very, what did you call me? Wily?
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember using those words, but I wouldn't deny that.
And I was like writing messages on a notebook and putting them on the window so they could see. And eventually like they would put a message up on the window that said, "This turnpike ain't big enough for the both of us." And just sped away.
Wow.
That's not the end of the story.
Okay.
Because I have to wait to the producer segment to tell you the actual end because it is R-rated, if you will.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited to hear the end of the story.
So producers, if that's not a carrot to get you to become a producer, I don't know what is.
And honestly, if sticks are what you're into, it could be that too.
Sure. That's an interpretation of the continuation of the story. But thank you for coming on this turnpike with us. Next week, Judge Rob will be here to walk us through everything in the set before you head out to your pre-release at your local game store, which we certainly hope that you do. Give them your support. Thank you to our patrons, especially our producers, of course.
Yes.
And our secret level, the Desolation Twins. There's only 2 of you, but we love you as well. The patreon.com/GLHF Magic. We want to give you some puns next week. So come on and join our family, everybody. And thanks once again to our sponsors, Card Kingdom and to Dragon Shield for being incredible places to either buy your Magic cards or protect your Magic cards. I'm so hyped to play this set in real life. I wonder if what's going to happen if people just get run over from all these hasty cards really quick. I don't know.
Or perhaps it's just a small sample size, you never know. Does every card in the set have haste? I mean, based on what we've seen, yes, they all do. So we're maybe they do,
And I'll keep waiting for that Peabody to come in the mail.